guys, and this week we've been testing this very striking looking Toyota GT86, and it looks so striking because it's the blue edition model, so it comes in this stunning looking blue paintwork with a combination of the dark black wheels, mirrors and the spoiler as well, and with the Brembo brakes it really does set it off on the road. And for a car that's cost around £30,000 in this very high specification blue edition model, it does get a lot of looks, and I think some people that aren't in the know of their type of cars will believe that this car is a lot more expensive than what it actually is. But what we're going to be finding out in this video is whether it's got some substance to match its striking looks. So looking down the side of the GT86, you'll realise how it's actually a very compact car. It reminds you a little bit of sort of the Mazda MX-5s with the wheels. They are 17 inch, but the actual wheels themselves are very compact and the tyre is relatively small. I mean, that does have its advantages and disadvantages. The advantages being that obviously your maintenance costs are cheaper, so you can put some really good premium tyres on there that aren't going to cost you too much money because they're not overly big. But of course the negative of that is the fact that this is a rear-wheel drive car means that the rear wheels do spin up very easily in wet conditions. But I suppose it's meant to be a fun car, isn't it? So you take this on the track, and I'm sure you can manage to go through the tyres in a pair of tyres and not very long at all, because you can do some proper drifting in this car. And you put it in the track mode and it'll turn the traction control off as well, so you can really have some fun in this car. So now around to the back of the car, and with this black spoiler on, it does look very aggressive indeed, especially with these two massive exhaust pipes, and it does have a little bit of a gurgle to it as well, which isn't bad for a 2 litre. And on this particular model we've got the optional fitment of the rear parking sensors, which are £299 option, but I do think that's worthwhile because it is a little bit difficult to judge where the back of the car is from the rear window, although the mirrors are nice and large, so it's up to you really, but it is an option worth ticking in my opinion. And you've got some nice LED rear lights and the GT86 badge in there, and I think it's a really nice proportionate back of the car, and it does make it look very sporty and aggressive. So what's actually quite impressive really for such a small compact little sports coupe, the boot isn't actually too bad. I mean, obviously the opening isn't that wide and you haven't got that much depth, but it does go back quite a nice long way, so you can get a relatively large weekly shop in there, no problem at all. There is a little bit of underfloor storage where you can put some more secret items, and there's a punch repair kit, obviously no spare wheel or anything like that, but I think you'll agree that's not a too bad loading space and aperture for this sports coupe. You do have to give the boot a bit of a slam, but that's not a problem. So now I'm in the back of the GT86, and of course it's designed as like a 2+2, like an emergency kind of rear seat. And although it looks like I've got a lot of leg room, this seat is pushed like pretty much all the way far back, so the front passenger had to be very small. But for emergency journeys, it's not too bad. The actual seat back here is relatively comfy, and headroom, obviously it's tight, but if you're under 6 foot, then you're just going to be able to manage. And there's a little bit of a nice soft armrest in the middle, and it actually doesn't feel too claustrophobic either, because you've got the rear window and also this rear quarter light back here. It's not too bad. However, don't expect to get anyone at all behind the driver's seat, especially if they're around the 6 foot mark, because they have no leg room at all. And although it looks like I've got a lot of leg room here, the actual seats themselves are positioned very low to the ground, which means my toes are actually getting crushed, which means I can't actually bring this back any further than this, otherwise it won't be very comfortable at all. So yeah, it's okay for emergencies, but what do you expect for this type of car? It's a bonus that it's got them really, isn't it? So under the bonnet of this GT86, no matter which one you go for, in fact, even if you went for this car's direct rival, I say rival when it's basically the same car underneath, you still get the same 2 litre boxer engine. If I open the bonnet, of course you've got to use the bonnet stay to put it up, and this, although it's only a 2 litre engine, it does produce 197 brake horsepower, and it is but there's no turbocharger or anything, so the power is right up in the rev range. You have got to rev it to get the best out of it. But I suppose that this is what this car's about, isn't it? It's more that hardcore driving experience. It does feel a little bit like a Caterham or something, just a little bit more grown up and sophisticated. And you can do longer journeys in this. Yes, there's a bit of road and wind noise and everything like that, but you know, it's not too bad. The seats are nice and comfortable, and on this particular model they're heated as well. I don't think the bonnet likes the wind much because it seems to be flapping around, but yeah, there's the engine. I mean, there's no like fancy cover or anything like on most cars. You see, you know, that is the engine you actually see there, and you can see all the belts and that. So I'd imagine that the maintenance on this would be very easy to do yourself. So that might be an advantage for some people. As I'm sure you're aware, the Toyota brand has an excellent reliability record, and I'm sure this GT86 is the same. Any sort of recalls that happened on the earlier models would have been done by now, so even if you're buying on the used market, hopefully those issues would have been sorted, but obviously check with the dealer you're buying it that they have been done. Because this car was introduced in July 2012 when it was first sold, and had a facelift and update in 2017, which brought sort of like fresher details, including LED headlights, slightly refreshed front end, and inside it got things like better interior quality and a bit more technology, which sort of brought up to the more modern era of sports coupes. But even if you're buying a used model, you know, you can get like a 3-year-old 2017 model, for instance, and you still have 2 years warranty left, compared to the majority of cars only come with 3 years warranty. So that's a really nice peace of mind selling point for this Toyota GT86. Not that it'll probably go wrong in the first place because it's Toyota, but you know, it's nice to know that you've got that reassurance in maintenance backup if you need it. So now we're up front in the GT86. You know, it's a really nice place to be, considering the price point. The use of materials is excellent. You know, it's just really solid. It doesn't want to budge at all. It's incredible, really. I mean, that just shows how Toyota is a very reliable brand, isn't it? But you think on a car that costs top spec here about £30,000, it's excellent. And these seats are lovely to sit in. They're on this blue edition. We've got half leather and half Alcantara, and of course they stay warm in the winter as well, so that's a nice benefit. But the other benefit of the Alcantara in this type of car is the fact that you can go fast around corners, and it really holds you in position nicely indeed. Standard equipment on this particular blue edition model is excellent too, with features like cruise control, Bluetooth, LED lights, dual zone climate control, and it's pretty well kitted out. But it also comes with an optional extra, is this satellite navigation here in the middle, which, yes, the graphics are a little bit dated, but you know, we'll forgive it. And a couple of the graphics, like the climate control and this clock in particular, are very 1980s, but the overall use of materials and the solid build quality and the driver focused approach makes me forgive it for that. And these dials in front of me are crystal clear, so you can see exactly what's going on with the car. And it's got very clear red lines. You know exactly when to shift up to get the most out of this 2 litre. So then, what's performance like in this little GT86 with its 2 litre boxer engine? Well, it produces 197 brake horsepower and just over 200 newton meters of torque. And while that might not sound like much, it's surprising how much fun you can have in this car due to its incredibly light weight at just 1,200 kilograms, which is much lighter than any of its competitors. And you do have to rev the engine out to get the best of it, because the max power is at 6,600 RPM, which is, you know, it's almost to the red line. The red line is at 7.5, so you have got to rev it to get the best out of it. But I suppose, you know, that's the fun characteristics of this type of car, isn't it? 0 to 60 varies between the manual or the automatic gearbox. This particular manual one with a 6-speed does 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds, whereas the automatic increases this time up to 8.2, which is a slight change, and also the top speed decreases from 140 for the manual like this car down to 130 for the automatic, so that is a trade-off if you want the automatic. And I think get the manual gearbox really, because it sort of suits the playful, fun and enjoyable to drive characteristics of this car. So then, what's the final verdict on this striking looking GT86 Blue Edition trim level? Well, it's just so much fun to drive. It's basically like a grown-up Caterham, and one that's much more refined and comfortable. The fact that you can do relatively long journeys in this car in ease, yet you can still take it to the track on the weekends and have so much fun. And with the 5-year warranty and the excellent reliability record, it really is a fun car that you can buy with your heart and your head. So then, thank you very much for watching. What was your thoughts on this Toyota GT86? Let me know in the comment section below. Browse our channel where you'll find plenty more other content on other brilliant cars, and also don't forget to subscribe.